Next speaker is Jingwang Herman from GetTaxi. She, formerly of JP Morgan, is with this startup at this point and is going to talk a little bit about GetTaxi's point of view on all of this and about your products. Welcome, Jing. Thanks for sponsoring us.
Hi everyone, I'm Jing Herman. I'm a licensed taxi driver actually in New York, and I'm also leading efforts in the US for GetTaxi. First, I'd like to thank Matt and the app committee. It is on. Okay, closer? Okay. I'd like to thank Matt and the app committee and IATR for having us and for all the hard work that you've done. The model regulations look like it was many late nights and many cups of coffee and maybe even a hurricane or northeaster to make it come together. So for those who missed our session yesterday, the topic was called Transformation Without Disruption. So we believe that we've transformed all the markets we've been in without causing bad disruption. Transformation we can define, it's actually defined in the dictionary as a market change, usually for the better. Disruption has been a buzzword in the tech community and a dirty word among regulators. There's good disruptive innovation that could be a good new product, a new market, or something that serves an underserved need. But for our purposes, we'll define disruption, bad disruption, as simply breaking the law or a violation or impeding a process. And for us, we truly believe that it's possible to achieve all the positives of transformation in every market without bad disruption. And I'll tell you from our GetTaxi lens how we've been able to do it and how our approach is to new markets. So we were founded in 2010 by two entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, who had a lot of difficulty getting a taxi in San Francisco. That led to a year of development. The technology was developed in Israel, and we chose Tel Aviv as the first market to launch in early 2011. Those who have been to Tel Aviv, and Israelis would tell you that the average taxi experience in Tel Aviv is probably less pleasant than a New York City taxi ride in the 1980s. And I think after 18 months, after a year and a half, we've completely transformed the experience from both the driver's perspective and from the passenger's perspective. I was just in Israel a couple of weeks ago, and I had so many, just the random drivers that I would get from the GetTaxi app, whoever was the closest. So many of them, just told me voluntarily how life-changing it was, and actually one guy actually said, GetTaxi is the most amazing thing that's happened in my life, after my wife and my children. And I think that kind of impact is transformation. And okay, for those who say, okay, we're apps that work with drivers, please remember that in some markets, there's no such thing as a fleet. So in Israel, it's all independent drivers. Same in London, where we launched 6 months after Israel last fall. All black cab drivers are independent operators. There's no such thing as a fleet. In Moscow, where we launched 6 months after that, earlier this spring, they are independent drivers, mostly independent drivers, and fleets, and we work with both. And when we come to new markets, if it's mixed of drivers and fleets, we intend to work with drivers and fleets, and if its market is only fleets, we fully intend to work with only fleets. So today we're live in 3 countries, 18 cities. We have over 500,000 downloads. We have enterprise solution as well. We have over 500 corporate customers. We have Google, Goldman Sachs, Disney, for example, in Israel. We have many law firms, accounting firms, people who take lots of taxis. As a company, we have over 100 employees now and 30 million funding. And as a matter of choice, we provide 24/7 customer service in every single market in the local language. So we believe that we've been able to achieve transformation without disruption because we customize things from market to market. So let me tell you the 3 things that are consistent from every market, and then I'll tell you how we customize everything else. So the first thing that's consistent is that we only work with licensed vehicles, and we actually see every vehicle to make sure they meet our criteria. Secondly, we only work with licensed drivers, and in every country, we meet with every driver before we onboard them. We retain their documents. We have a family approach. We have monthly focus groups. We have driver conventions where we bring all of them together. Thirdly, we always have a free solution for consumers. We charge the driver and the businesses, but for individual riders, it's always free. How we customize across markets. How we calculate the fare. So in London, where there's an official meter, we only go by the official meter. In Israel, where meter and fixed pricing is allowed, we use both. So typically, the individual users using the official meter, and our corporate customers are going by our pre-arranged prices, fixed prices. And in Moscow, where there was no such thing as a meter, we actually introduced a meter in Moscow. We introduced a lot of structure. We lowered the average wait time in Moscow from 45 minutes, which was the case, to, on our system, about 12 minutes. And that's just calculating the fare. B, how we charge our drivers is different. In one market, we could charge them by subscription. Another market could be based on the ride, or it could be based as a percentage of a meter. And how we charge our enterprise customers is also dependent on the market and how we chose to calculate a fare based on really what the local regulations and laws allow. So honestly, we choose to customize our product offering in every market we go to, and sometimes these extensive customizations are honestly exhausting. But we believe that this is the way to go about doing business. We believe that there's no such thing as one size fits all. If you have the exact same formula and you apply that, exact same product, and you apply that in very diverse markets, vastly different markets, the result is that you will end up breaking some laws and regulations. There's no way around that. But in the same vein, we believe the same about regulation. Across all these diverse markets, you also can apply the same kind of broad stroke checklist of regulations. These markets exist on spectrums. So one market could be 100% street hail based, another market could be 100% dispatch based, just as a matter of the culture or the geography. One market could be 100% drivers, another market could be 100% fleets. And the same concepts that we're talking about here, when you apply to different markets, depending on where on the spectrum you are, you will have a very different impact. So in conclusion, we believe that there's no such thing as one size fits all for either the apps or really for regulation. And we really just invite you to, sit at the same table as you, to really analyze market by market, one at a time, based on the idiosyncrasies and the complexities of your market. Let's figure out what's the most appropriate solution. So in conclusion, one last thing. So we created a hashtag happier regulators. We introduced a rule yesterday. The GetTaxi rule is happier drivers plus happier passengers minus disruption equals happier regulators. So I invite all of you to join the conversation on Twitter. You can reply to at GetTaxi NYC, hashtag happier regulators. Thank you very much.